What's going on, everyone? I'm DW98AZ. Today we are going to be beginning a series, or I'm going to be beginning a series called American History with DW98. This first part of this series is going to be about the purpose of the American Revolution. Now, there are many reasons why the American Revolution happened. You had taxation without representation. You had the intolerable acts, or Parliament just passing acts like willy-nilly without representation of the 13 colonies. The American Revolution was not just about these colonists not wanting to pay taxes, all right? The purpose of the American Revolution, if we were to sum everything up, was about the colonies wanting representation in Parliament. Now let's get to the culture. The 13 colonies were used to voting for their own governors, passing their own tax laws, or in other words, paying taxes. They had their own militias, which was their military, if you will. The 13 colonies, if you were to look at how trade was around the world, the 13 colonies, especially Massachusetts, were the #1 importer and exporter of goods to around the world, not just Great Britain and her allies. We're talking about importers and exporters of French goods, Dutch goods, Prussian goods. America on the East Coast was pretty much still new. It's only 150 years old from 1620. So that's one thing. Now, what was Great Britain trying to do? Well, King George III, with his conservative Tory party, and for those of you who don't know, a Tory is someone who believes in the absolute rule, divine right of kings. In other words, Parliament has no power, the king has all the power. For those of you who want to have examples, I don't think the Tory party was in the middle of the 17th century, but if it was, Charles I would be a Tory, because he dissolved Parliament God knows how many times. And he lost his head because of that. So King George was trying to prevent that from happening. And what he was doing was paying for Tory candidates in Massachusetts. And if he's paying for Tory candidates in Massachusetts, who are they going to answer to? The king. So a lot of corruption was happening in Parliament and in the executive of England, or the monarchy of England. This is actually what makes sense of the intolerable acts and all the acts that Great Britain has passed in Massachusetts. It's not just because of the Boston Tea Party. It's not just because of the Boston Massacre. It's because King George wanted absolute control over Massachusetts. And if he was able to get absolute control over Massachusetts, then he could get absolute control over the rest of the 13 colonies. And a matter of fact, we know of another country that has been through this, pretty brutally, actually. India. India has actually gone through this. And this is why I think, or one of the reasons why I think the American Revolution started, is because we don't want to end up like India during the Napoleonic Wars. We could say, not only was it about representation for the American Revolution, but it was also us saying no to King George for trying to set up absolute rule over us as colonies.